Welcome everybody to episode 28 of Business Can Be Better, talking about your sales philosophy. What is your sales philosophy? Better Business Podcast, or Business Can Be Better, is a show about or for great business owners, helping them become exceptional business owners. Is that how we say it?
I think, yeah. We don't want to steal the good to great name, but...
Good to great.
Great to exceptional.
Great to exceptional.
Yeah.
My name is Lane. I'm the CEO and founder of a marketing company called London Road Media.
And I'm Kelly Ray, serial entrepreneur. I started using that lately.
Did you?
I really like it.
I like it.
But the main business is TMH Business Coaching and Consulting.
Yeah. So what's new with you this week?
Oh, I forgot about that part. I never have anything. Do you have any huge news things again that we could just focus on you for once?
No, I think we skipped you last week, so now it's all on you to come up with exciting stories to share.
I've relapsed into my rock star habit.
The
so many energy
I'm like, what?
I would get so much trouble. Yeah, surprise, we're live. I'm going to talk about
you being a rock star.
I've been drinking energy drinks again. I haven't been sleeping. It always happens when something new and exciting is happening, so I think that's a good sign.
Yeah.
Also, I just started watching that show Superstore. That's about all that's new with me. Well, I've been sick, so I'm feeling healthier. How about that?
That's good.
Also, I'm hopefully going to use this mic properly this week. Yes.
I'm just making sure we're not too loud now, but we're good.
Oh.
But we're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's new with you?
What's new with me? I don't know, we have a new month, so it's just a lot of planning this month out. I kind of just get everything in place in my calendar for everything that's happening this month. So I'm just looking forward to a lot of events and things that I get to go to. And we're going to start offering our seminars again about social media marketing. So just doing a lot of planning in that and building some new fun stuff like that. In person, face-to-face, meet other people. A lot of that happening rather than us just sitting behind our laptops in our office and being anonymous and antisocial. So I'm excited about a lot of planning those things where we get to meet people and see people face to face and be social. And those
big speaking events you're going to do.
Yeah, but I'm excited to go attend a big one, to go to Traffic and Conversion Summit that I just realized today that Arnold Schwarzenegger is speaking at, and I think that's going to be really cool to see him in person.
Yeah, that will be cool. Is he 70-something now?
Still
just killing it?
I'm sure, yeah, he could definitely beat me in an arm wrestle.
Maybe.
Really? I don't think that would take much effort on his part. So why are we talking about sales philosophy?
Well, quick, I just want to say why I'm behind this microphone. I'm sorry, I'm trying to figure this out, how to be on camera but also to talk to you. But I'm trying to be better with my sound, and Lane told me his secret today was angle in and have this.
Yeah, you got to pivot around the mic as we talk to each other.
Oh, really?
Like this.
Okay, we'll see how that goes. So why did I choose this topic? Well, because I have always had just 3 rules for sales. I'm sure we'll talk about them, but I've been almost sales averse. And I find that a lot of people are that way, so it was easy for people to relate to me when I talked about it. But I almost purposely did not sell.
Right.
And so I've been working with a really great coach whose focus is on sales, because I've realized that, there's a lot of contacts with people that I would like to turn into business, but I haven't. So there's a lot left on the table in this business for me. And it's made me laugh so hard I almost cried a few times when I realized the ridiculous things I was doing that were working against sales. I would be here, just take all this coaching homework and just go do this on your own, rather than saying, let's do this together. Right. And almost discouraging people from wanting to work together. It's it's crazy the awarenesses I've been having working with a coach that's focused on sales. And I've been just really happy to learn that she's not trying to teach me anything pushy, aggressive.
Right.
She's not trying to get me to change my sales philosophy. All 3 of my rules still apply. But it's just a very refreshing look at sales. So I just thought we should talk about, because I'm interested in hearing your sales philosophy. I'd like to share mine. I'd love to have people join in, tell us what theirs are.
So what I was trying to figure out, sales philosophy is not a term I've really used before. It makes sense when you said it, but I'm thinking of it as about being your values of how you approach sales, whereas something like sales methodology would be more like the strategy. Like you go in with this, whatever, some acronym they have about how to close a sale or something that they would teach them more methodology. But we're talking about the philosophy, which is going to be more keeping it with your personal values.
Yes.
And actually also just in looking some stuff about this, I see people using the word sales culture too, whereas sales culture might be more at an organizational level, but a sales philosophy is really a personal thing. Like your sales philosophy is your sales philosophy, and if you had another business development or another salesperson, even within your own business, maybe they have their own sales philosophy. Like it's a really personal thing. I think that's what I discovered today.
You could hire them.
Right. What is your sales philosophy? Yeah.
Because if that doesn't match, it's not a good.
Right.
Did you hear that sound?
I just bumped our camera a little, but we're good.
Okay. I was like, I think I'm doing something bad.
Yeah. So what does your sales philosophy look like?
Okay. So this came about, I want to say like 5 years ago, really close to the beginning of my coaching business. So like 5.5 years ago. My husband and I do a lot of personal development, and one of the things that I figured out was that sales doesn't have to feel like sales. A lot of people, including myself, have had experiences with my really bad example is the brick. I feel so uncomfortable in the brick.
Right.
I feel so pressured and so uncomfortable. I just wanted to stay as far away from that experience as possible in all of my businesses.
Yeah. That was your how not to do it.
Exactly.
Example.
Yeah. So
what was awful about it? Though?
I felt like the person was very desperate. I also felt like they were mean. Like I felt like they were almost being a bully. And then the fact that like you basically have to negotiate. Like the fact that a bed that says it's $5,000 is not actually that much if you like haggle with them. Like I don't want to be part of that. Or like I just found them almost like even I remember calling once and just asking if they had a certain type of bed, and the girl's like, let me just transfer you to a salesperson. I'm like, no, please.
No,
please
just answer my question.
Like I'm trying to look on your website. And honestly, I just had such bad experiences with furniture. Even though I hated it, I have started buying furniture online. Yeah. Because I just can't. Right. And I have to say I do feel some compassion for that industry. I mean, like, it's hard to staff properly. It's hard to have enough money. They can't keep the furniture in the store. Like, it's just imploding on them. So I get it, but yeah, I don't want to put anyone through that, and I don't want to go through that. So 3 rules that I have are be authentic. We talked about that actually right before the podcast started, because we're talking about speaking. Like both of us are starting to do a lot more speaking this year, and you just have to be authentic, because trying to be anybody but yourself is very awkward. Right. You know,
how long can you put on the facade?
Yeah, like if you go to a meeting, you're like, oh, I have to pretend that I'm this way, or I have to try and convince them of, no, just be yourself. Yeah. And I think authenticity, that's a really big theme for me when I talk about marketing in general, marketing and sales. You never want to try and pretend to be something you're not, right? So number 1 is be authentic. Number 2 is make sure that you always have that customer's or prospective customer's best interest in mind. Yeah. So whether or not you're right for them, Laura and I talked about this today, actually. It's part of our process. If someone inquires and we're not the best fit for them, we recommend them to Community Futures, Economic Development. Right. You, Mandy, Bruce, Chris. Yeah. If I think they're a good fit for someone else, we absolutely recommend them that way. And then the third piece is no attachment to the outcome. So in the brick, if the person was like, hey, I'm so-and-so, they're totally acting like themselves. They're like, what do you really need? And what's your budget? And we're like, a couch, $2,000. We're like, okay, well, here's a couple things. And then they're like, you buy it, great. You don't, great. No attachment. Yeah. Then it would have been fine. Yeah, it's very different. Flawless, actually, in my opinion. But so, yeah, when I have sales opportunities like in person, when I'm meeting with somebody, I'm just myself, and I'm really trying to clarify what they really need. And then if I'm what's right for them, great, we'll talk about that. But if I'm not, you know?
You can help them in another way. You can refer them to someone who can.
And don't need the sale. Like, that's just so awkward. It makes people so uncomfortable. You can't get in a position where you're... And I guess that's hard because a lot of people are in a position where they need to increase their revenue. But you have to figure out a way to approach those situations with a lack of attachment. Right. Because that desperation
you're not going to hide it. That's going to come through and be an immediate turnoff.
And I guess let me give somebody a tip for that. And I forgot to do a quick tip, so no, I'll save
You'll
this.
leave
I'll write
it.
down.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I think I will say that I'm awful at sales because I've never intentionally tried to develop any kind of strategy or methodology or philosophy or whatever. I mean, it's been very unintentional, and that I especially don't do any outside sales or prospecting or anything like that so far, although we're starting to look at what we could do that would help with that. But we've just been so inbound where we just kind of put out content and have a public brand and develop our personal brands and personas and have people come to us, that I've just always kind of considered myself as not a salesperson at all. Like you had said, like, yeah, exactly how you said that you're almost anti-sales, that you're like, I'm not going to sell anyone on this. So that's kind of where I'm at still now, and starting to think about what I could do to become a salesperson. But someone said to me recently, I was in a meeting, and someone who we just met, they're part owner of one of our clients that I hadn't even met yet, like 2 years into a contract with them, but I never met him. We sat down, and like 20 minutes within the conversation, he's like, you're a great salesman. I'm like, I am not a salesman. Like, it's almost, the funny thing is, like, we almost take that as an insult when someone's like, you're a great salesman.
Right?
It's like, ew, I don't want to be a great salesman.
Right?
But what we very quickly discovered was because he's like, well, great sales, you're a great salesman because of this. And he like kind of listed a couple things. I'm like, no, that's the only reason, like the reason, maybe if you think I'm good at sales, maybe it's because I'm good at building trust with you. Like, we've been talking for 20 minutes and now you trust me. Maybe I'm good at building trust, and maybe by result that makes you good at sales, because that's really, to me, that's what it's about. If you want to be good at sales, serving. Build trust.
Yeah.
And so maybe I'm not an awful salesperson, because if I can build trust, I can be a salesperson.
That's the whole thing, though, is like, we don't have to be salesy.
Yeah.
The authenticity part's a big one. Like, you're just being who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Curious, trying to find out what they need, and then talking about solutions.
Yeah.
And that's the 100% for their best interests. We're never going to try and sell to somebody who doesn't need us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's not going to change. My philosophy will not change. And I actually talked to my coach about that an hour or so ago. I said, I've been so relieved to learn that you're not trying to change who I am or my 3 rules. And she's like, absolutely not. It's about becoming more authentic.
Right.
Yeah.
That is refreshing and helps put the buyer at ease, which is what you need, because then that means you're developing trust. But you'll see that at like a Best Buy, and you ask them some questions like, oh, maybe we don't carry that, you should go check out Staples, or you should go check out Visions, or they like go recommend something else that's a direct competitor, and then you're suddenly at ease. You're like, okay, you actually want to help me solve this problem, not get me out of the store via the till and having a large transaction. So that, I think, is so important, that helps build trust when you can demonstrate that they actually have your best interest at heart.
Yeah, no, that's a really good example of a sales environment that I like going into.
Yeah.
I can't decide if it's because they're not paid on commission. I think it's a big part of it, and I think a lot of us know that.
Well, they branded themselves. That was their differentiator, is they marketed that. We are not a commission-based place. That was also like another, they're still commission-based, but another brand that kind of made that their differentiator was Toyota, when it was, there's no haggling. The price is the price. We gave you the best price. The best price is what's on the ticket. And I don't know where they're at now. When I bought
if they hadn't, I would have gone there
years ago.
Seriously. If they were really instead
of arguing
I would have
gone
there. I cannot stand that. I cannot stand it. I'm not going to get into that, because we're going to know where I got my car and everything else, so we're not gonna. But the one thing I really wanted to make sure that we talked about is, because I had this conversation yesterday with somebody, and it was like hurting my brain.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, I don't want to rip people off, or like, I don't want to charge more, even though this other company is charging more than me, and I'm doing a way better job, and I have a way better guarantee, and every single one of my customers is happy, and I have amazing, really good reviews online, like all of these good things. And people trust me, people love me, people refer me. 90% of my business is referrals. So this is genuinely a really great service.
Right.
But the person doesn't want to be greedy.
Okay.
And so I was like, try to think of it this way. Like, that's that. I'm not even going to touch that. I'm not a life coach. I'm not a counselor. I'm not going to talk to you about your self-image.
Yeah.
But what I will talk to you about is people are not paying for an hour of your time. If they are, you're doing it wrong. But people are paying for the results.
Right.
So when you talk about like business coaching, for me, I have no, especially talking to a friend rather than talking to a prospect. If I'm talking to a friend and they're like, oh, how much do you charge? Oh, I charge this much. But they make like way, 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 way more because of what I do. So here's the value. The value might be like another $1 million in sales that year. How much is that worth? Right? Versus like, oh, what do you charge an hour? That sort of thing.
Right.
So I think people really get stuck on, especially when they're a big resource in the business, they can get really hung up on prices. It's really hard to raise your prices.
Yeah.
But if you talk to your happy customers and you hear them tell you, this number is better, this number is better, I'm healthier, I'm happier, my marriage is better, my staff are happier, my turnover is decreased, my marketing works, we went on a vacation, I'm saving for my child's university, like, good.
Yeah. You're serving them by
something.
selling them.
Or even, like, I want to be really conscious of the fact that our main businesses are consulting, right? So when we talk about our examples, they don't apply to a lot of different businesses. So I want to make sure that we use like different examples.
Sure.
So talking about let's talk about like a landscape.
Sure. Yeah.
So if someone calls you, or let's talk about plumbing.
Okay.
So someone calls you and they're like, oh my gosh, I really need your help tonight.
Yeah.
At like right now, because this is just, I can't handle this, I need it fixed, I don't care what it costs. And you're like, well, we have a priority rate or an emergency rate, it's going to be like $500. If the person's like, yes, I don't care, please come help,
Yeah.
why would you possibly feel bad about that if the person feels like it's worth it and they want it, you know? Or like, let's say resale value of a house. If there's something you can do to your house and you're going to pay like $1,000 for it, but you can sell your house for $10,000 more, that is worth $10,000.
Right.
So for you to charge them $1,000, how is that? So I think if we can really get people to shift that paradigm, I think it can help. Because when you really do look at the results those people are getting, or the feelings they're getting, the results, I really like results. That's more tangible for me.
Yeah.
But what they're getting out of it and the value they place on that, it's way, 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 way higher than your price.
Yeah.
And if it's not, you're doing it wrong. I mean, this all has to come back to the customer experience.
Right.
That's got to be your number one.
Yeah.
You have to deliver exceptional products and services.
Yeah. And that's
otherwise all this just falls apart.
Yeah, and that's the same with marketing and with sales. I mean, there's lots of bad marketing, lots of bad sales out there. But I think sometimes they get the flack for why things aren't selling when maybe your product or service is not very sellable, right? So sometimes that's the case, but we need to make sure that that's solid first, and then you can market it, we can sell it, and then not be, like you say, like don't be, I don't know, what's that, self-conscious, or you don't have the confidence that what you're selling is something that.
I think you're just looking at the wrong things. You know, if you're thinking that you shouldn't be charging what you're charging, or you shouldn't charge more, I wouldn't look there. I would look at what they get out of it, what the value that they place on it is. And if it's not higher than what you're charging, the answer is not to decrease your price. It's to make things better.
Right.
And I think, too, a lot of businesses
stop selling that thing because it doesn't benefit them. Yeah.
A lot of businesses nowadays are, I guess we could get into supply and demand, too. I mean, like, if you're one of 100 businesses trying to serve 1,000 people, stop. Like,
right.
If you can only differentiate on price, that's not a good idea.
Yeah.
Holy, business is so intertwined. Hey, it's so hard to stay on track. Good thing we have these show notes.
I think the other piece is that there's a time where you do give up and leave very quickly, and that's where you need to stop wasting time trying to convince the unconvincible. That's and I think that's that old style of sales where it's, you could sell ice, like, what is it, ice to an Eskimo or whatever was that saying?
I believe that's it.
Right. I mean, if we had this recently where someone was possibly a prospect that we could submit a proposal to, but we had a conversation and it just turned out that like their needs and demands and budgets were just like all way out of line with what we usually work with, and their they just had a very bitter taste about what marketing looked like. They basically didn't want to hire us. They're like, I'm probably supposed to get a quote because I should know, but I don't really, like, I hate marketing basically because I've been burned in the past. And I'm just like, let's not even waste our time submitting a proposal here, because we're not going to convince them that this is a great spend. We're going to go into it defending everything we do every step of the way, and we've kind of like talked them into hiring us, and I never want to be in that position.
I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah.
You should never, ever beg or try to convince someone to work with you.
Right.
Or buy your stuff. I think one important thing that I forgot to mention was, you know, a lot of businesses still are largely referral based. So a lot of people are still getting a lot of business because friends and family have talked about their business. Mm-hmm. And maybe not in person, but online. You know, it's still a large portion of our sales are coming from people who have heard that we're great because they trust their friends and family, right? If you don't have that component happening for you, you really need to look at the customer experience.
Yeah.
The customer experience is so incredibly important. And I think sometimes if you're listening to a podcast, for example, about sales, and then all of a sudden we start talking about the customer experience, they're like, I was looking for sales training. But maybe you don't need to be a salesperson. Maybe you just need to be authentic and have their best interests in mind and don't be attached to the outcome. But maybe your processes need to get better. The customer experience needs to get better.
Right.
Yeah, it's the same thing when we talked about SEO and Google reviews and everything. Like, well, for starters... Oh my gosh, I almost just said do something awesome. In my head. Yeah, your products and services have to rock and your customers have to be extremely happy.
Yeah.
And then this, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, we never want to be in a place where we're trying to convince someone to hire us. Because it's just, even if you do convince them, that's not a win. Like, you're now beginning a relationship that's in a bad spot that is probably going to fall apart pretty soon. It's not a good place to put your time into.
And I mean, we all know you get that feeling, you know, when you're this person's not going to be a good client. They're going to complain. You know, a good example of a client who you probably want to avoid trying to sell to is somebody who's gossiping about other people or bad-mouthing other people to you and saying, all my problems are because of these other people.
Yeah.
Like, for me, I've learned to be like, ooh, not touching that.
Right.
Because guess who's next on their blame list?
Yeah.
You know, so if somebody doesn't have, personal accountability and they're not willing to do their part, or let's try and think about the other businesses. Like, now I'm thinking about selling shoes, right? They don't have to do anything but wear the shoes, right? So in our businesses, yes, that makes sense. But like when you're selling a retail product or a smaller ticket item or an oil change, it's a lot different than our service-based businesses.
Yeah, it is very different, yeah.
But there's still, I think, the same warning signs because they could go online and complain about you on a Google review, or they could spend 3 hours with you, you know, trying on different things, and then in the end just be like, no, I hate all of this stuff, you know. But yeah, that's the smaller price tags I find, the more challenges you have, right? Because there's like so many more people in your business in a month. Right.
You can't wine and dine them and like
Can't
spend time with them. Like, it has to be quick because you can't spend 3 hours making a $10 profit margin on a product.
And we have that in the shoe solutions, right? Like, they're the pedorthics and the orthotic services and that sort of stuff is a different. It's like appointment based, like kind of like we do. But when people are coming in and buying shoes, you have to treat them all with the same positive authenticity, and you know, nobody's being pushy. We're trying to serve them and we're not being attached. But sometimes you'll spend 2 or 3 hours. I see some of our teams spending 2 or 3 hours with a person who's just a real headache, and then they leave and there's like 20 boxes of shoes there to clean up. But I have to say, on the flip side of that, we've got somebody there. We've got an amazing team, but somebody who came from Best Buy comes to mind. And a lady came in last week, and you could just tell that it was 2 weeks ago. You could just tell she was not having a good day. Like, I actually saw her and went the other way. Like, I just got a vibe. I was like, no, I can't sell shoes anyway, so I'm just going to go back here. And so at the end of this, I think it was like an hour, I had happened to walk back across the floor, and she gave our salesperson a great big hug. Wow. Actually, they're called Fit Tech, sorry. Gave him a great big hug. And she said, you have no idea the impact you had on my day. And she was like crying. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I felt so guilty because you really have to remember, in almost every situation where people are being combative, what's the word? Like social sandpaper.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean? Like, they're just like, ugh. I think this is going to sound so cheesy, but I think love fixes that like every single time.
Sure.
When you're compassionate,
Just drown
empathetic, you're just super, super kind. That can really help with a lot of those people. And some of those people are going to go online and just say great things about you instead of terrible things.
Yeah.
So, I don't think you can ever discount somebody and be like, we won't do our best with this person.
Yeah.
It's not a good idea.
Yeah. For our larger ticket and more of like there's a longer sales journey, we're doing more of this in-depth like developing a relationship. But I think so we've kind of touched on that about how it's developing relationships and developing trust. Like that's really what makes sales effective, is if you can develop trust and actually have a real relationship. Because the one story that I shared recently on LinkedIn, which LinkedIn can be awful for this, of people just reaching out cold and sending you messages.
I want to talk
so
about
like
this.
I received a message from someone, an accountant on the other side of the country, who have no like mutual connections, like just random person reaching out from a long ways away, and just comes out cold with a very intrusive question. He's like, "How is your revenue?" Like something about like, "Where is your revenue headed this year?" Something like that. I'm just like, I just responded. I'm just like, that's like a really personal question. Like, I'm not going to tell you the inner workings of my business, but rest assured, like things are looking very optimistic, and just left it at that. And he's like, then his follow-up was basically to insult my current accountant. Be like, well, most accountants wouldn't know this. You should probably hear what I have to say about how you could save more money here and make more profit margin. I'm just like,
I thought we were going to disagree on something.
I was just like, this is not how you approach someone. You don't come in asking an intrusive question and then following up by insulting the person that I've chosen to develop a relationship with and that's important to my business. And I was just like, I ended up making a post about it that has gotten a lot of very positive response of people being like, yes, I get that all the time. That is so annoying. That is not how you do sales. You need to develop a relationship first. You can't just throw that out there.
We have to talk about this.
Yeah.
So we still do that LinkedIn message. Yeah. And part of me hates it because it's not really my style. But here's what we do. When we connect with people, if they view my profile, so first of all, they've looked at my profile. If they're a business owner, we will send them that free message. Right. And that is all that it is, but it is a cold message. But they have looked at my profile. And it's just like, here's the 4 ways we're really trying to improve Canadian business. Here's this free resource, this free resource. And I've told you this before. Yeah. And we disagree on this. But it's authentic because I'm giving stuff for free. And I'm just trying to like help people. But I'm also, like, hey, if you like my stuff, maybe we can talk more. That sort of thing, right? Yeah. But I got a message yesterday, and I thought, oh, is this Lane with a fake LinkedIn profile? He responds to my message. Well, Laura sent it to him, and he said, hey, not trying to be an a-hole, but does this kind of, I forget how he called it, maybe mass email or whatever. He said, does this actually work for you? Right. And I was like, oh, I'm glad you added that note, or I would have thought you're being, rude. But I just said about 5 to 10% of people, will turn into a sale down the road. But it's better than zero, and I'm also helping a lot of people along the way. Yeah. And he responded quite well to that. But good. I don't know how many people are not responding well, because Laura takes care of that for me, because I had a couple mean messages. Not from that, not responses to that. Just random people saying mean things. And so I was like, hey, how about you check the messages from now on?
I don't want to see that.
I do want to ask Laura that. And maybe Laura, if you're listening to this, we can talk about that tomorrow. But I do want to know, because if it is upsetting people, or if it's giving them the wrong impression of who I am, I do want to stop that. Well,
that's in line with that different sales philosophy where you get your no's, right? So it's like, well, we convert 5 or 10% because that was the thing. We'll get your 19 no's so you can get your 1 yes kind of thing. And that's, I don't, like, obviously you're going to get no's. You don't pursue people that are 100% win, like a total lock. But I think going in wanting to build a relationship has to be how it starts. Like, I just advised one of our clients on this today, because we're taking care of their organic LinkedIn for their page, but they're still managing their personal. So I kind of sent a guide for like, okay, how do you do your personal better? And I kind of sent like a template. Okay, when someone views your profile, you can send them this message, but it was very much like, go find out more about them, compliment on something like, oh, your experience at Pepsi must have been fascinating, or whatever, and just send that back to them. And there's no, this is who I am, this is what I can do for you, this is like all about me. It's like, talk about them. Yeah. And then we'll tie into my quick tip when we get there.
Okay. I have one more thing on that.
Okay.
So if I was reaching out trying to get a sale with that message, I would absolutely be on your team about that it's a very terrible idea, but it's very much in line with who I am, that I'm giving.
Right.
And we give a lot of good stuff. So for now, I'm going to keep doing that, but I do want to talk to Laura about how many people are getting annoyed with it. But if they look at my profile and I'm giving them, here's what I was thinking.
They initiated
The Go-Giver. Have you read that?
No.
Like the Go-Giver is just all about give, and sales come. Success comes, right? And that's always been my philosophy. So to me, that was very much generous. The other thing I think is that people on LinkedIn are almost expecting that kind of stuff, so they're a lot less annoyed than if I were to go on Facebook and start doing that. Because I remember when Frank Kern did that to me, and I was like, oh, block. Yeah.
Or DMs coming in on your Instagram account from everyone.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, we talked about what our sales philosophies are, and I think mine is very much in leading with value and being generous, like yours is, and it's about building trust and building relationships. And that's, I think we unfortunately agree again. We can't argue about stuff.
Well, my 3 rules are slightly different than yours.
Yeah, you have your 3 rules.
Make sure you have their best interest in mind, whether that's you or not, and then don't be attached to the outcome.
Excellent.
I think I'm going to make it 1 minute before blowing my nose. Sorry, guys.
So what do you have for a quick?
Well, I would say that you should look at your sales per customer.
Okay.
And make sure that your sales aren't entirely tied up in, one big customer.
Okay.
Or, and I'm just trying to think of with retail clients. The thing is, when you're not hitting your sales goals, you're going to feel more desperate, so it'll be hard to not be attached, and that's going to get into a whole cultural thing, which we can do another podcast on. But if you diversify your income streams or where your prospects are coming from, and you improve your conversion rate, you won't feel as attached because
Right.
So I guess just look at your customer list and make sure you're not putting all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah, that can put you in a risky situation.
Sounds like a quick tip, right?
Okay, that's a quick tip.
Quick.
Okay, my quick tip is to go read the book by Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Oh, I love that book.
Because this is one of many books that everyone is like, well, you got to read that. It's a must read. Everyone should read it. And I hate it when people tell me there's a book I have to read, because everyone, like, come on, everyone's read it. It can't be that good.
Oh, it's so good.
And often they do disappoint, but this was one that I think 100% lives up to the hype. Like,
Actually,
it's
I'm pretty
been
sure
that
that book
old.
was sexist. Am I thinking
Was
about
it?
the right one? It was written so long ago.
It
still applies.
in the 30s, I
but
believe.
I remember reading it as a woman and being like, oh. Like, I swear
Right.
it had some language in it about, well, the women will be at home cooking, so when you
I'm
do this. And I was like,
I'm sure it has some of that
but
in
other
there.
than that, it's very good.
Yeah, I found it to live up to all of the praise that it gets. I
Yeah,
think
I
it's something
loved it.
that people should read, and it would be great in this sales conversation, because it is about, like, stop talking about yourself and what you want, and I want to offer this to you, and I want to talk to you about this, and I. It's like, find out about them. What are their interests? Go talk to them, and how, like, the goal is get them talking to you, get them talking and talking and talking. Because often they'll leave that conversation being like, wow, they were such a great conversationalist, and all you did was sit there and listen. You just want to give them the opening to talk. That makes people so happy, right?
Yeah.
So that's a great book that if you've ever, everyone's heard of it, but if you haven't read it yet, pick up How to Win Friends and Influence People, because I think it is legitimately a great read that is worthy of all the praise it gets.
I think you should also go get the Go-Giver.
Okay, I'll put that on my list.
Also, one more thing really quick.
Okay, go.
I'm sorry, we're 3 minutes over 4. If you have a big hard time selling, or you're really feeling uncomfortable in that role, look at yourself. Like, try and figure out what's going on for you. Because a lot of times I think when people aren't able to show up in that way, it's kind of something you need to work on with maybe a counselor or like some sort of coach or something.
Okay.
Not me. I don't do that sort of thing. But
No therapizing?
yeah. No. Okay.
All right.
Well, thank you guys for watching, listening.
Yeah, and if you want to watch or listen again next time, you can watch us on YouTube live Tuesdays, 7:15 p.m. Mountain Time. And the easiest way, I mean, you can search. I think we show up on YouTube now. So if you search
Business Can Be Better,
Business Can Be Better,
podcast.
you search Kelly Ray's name, you search our business names, you'll probably find it. But it's bit.ly/Better Business Podcast. You can listen to us wherever you listen to podcasts. Look up Business Can Be Better and subscribe, please. We would very much appreciate that.
And if you want to follow me or, that's about it. Follow me. Like, what's that? I should just follow the script here. Sorry. Kelly Ray Tamaki on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram.
Yeah, and look me up on Twitter, Lane_Anderson, Instagram, The Real Lane Anderson, and on LinkedIn, Lane Anderson. Would love to connect with all of you.
We got to bring back that other nickname that we had there. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. Most of you are listening.
See you next time.
Bye.